Here at Highlands, we often get asked about pastoral care, specifically as people learn the philosophy of small groups and how we do small groups. Then the next question that pops up is about pastoral care. And so we're going to be talking about that over the next several videos that we put together. And just to start out with, the kind of the why and a little bit of the how of pastoral care at Highlands is that, remember, at Highlands, we say that pastoring takes place through small groups. That's how we pastor people. But you know that within that context, there are several situations that occur. Percentage-wise, they're very small, but they need a little bit extra than maybe what can be handled in a group. So in a small group setting, probably 85 to 90 at least % of all pastoral issues that need to be taken care of can be handled through the small group. They just need a scripture, they just need prayer, they just need encouragement. But then there is that extra percentage, those other people that are in something that is way more serious, and or if there are people within the congregation, your church, and those people maybe aren't connected to a small group. And so how do you care for them? And so one of the ways that we do that is that we wrap that pastoral care within small groups. We call it the Pastoral Care Small Group Ministry Team. It's a lot of words. It just basically means the understanding of how we care for people pastorally always has to be framed within the context of small groups. And so we have a group of people that are trained to help take care of those people that are struggling, maybe outside the church, coming to the church for help, maybe inside the church and aren't connected. And so the first thing that we do is that we try to create a space for them to get triage, to understand what the dynamic is and to recognize, is this dynamic something that we can handle? Is this a dynamic something that somebody else needs to handle, i.e. out of the church, whether that's a local counselor or psychiatrist or even some type of medical help? And then could it actually be handled with just a couple of one-on-one meetings with couples or individuals who would be kind of like experts in their area, whether they be men or women or couples, financial. And so we try to triage them in the moment to figure out where it is that they need to get plugged into. And once we do that, then we take that person and direct them there. So if someone is battling a raging addiction to any number of issues, then they would be recommended by us to get into a treatment program. We would help them walk that journey through that. We wouldn't do it for them, but we would help them walk that journey for them, recognizing then our side could be the contact for them pastorally. So somebody else is going to do the clinical part, the counseling part, and then we can be the pastor. One of the things I think is important to note and the whole pastoral care thing is, don't try to be something or someone that you're not. You have to operate in your lane. You have to operate in the area that you have a skill set in. And so I think a lot of times people get into trouble pastorally, especially caring for others, is when they try to go above and beyond their level of training. And so what I would recommend is, one of the first things that you're going to do if you're going to help people pastorally, and this isn't weddings and funerals, and these are people that are struggling, emotional issues, mental issues, addiction issues, huge financial circumstances that are going to require something more than just get on a simple budget. But you need to become aware of the resources in your community. And so what I would do is I would just go and I would find as many resources as possible that you could locate, that you could connect people to. And that would be actually interviewing people to make sure that they fit along with the vision of your local church. So everybody who says they're a counselor and a Christian doesn't necessarily do things with Christian being first and counseling being second. And so you need to know in your city, who are the people that can help you financially if it's something that is beyond you. And don't be afraid, based upon the size of your church, to recognize that maybe you don't have resources right now, and maybe you're just a conduit to resources. And then as the church grows, then maybe you become more of a resource, have more opportunity, more skill set within the local church, and then you use outsourcing for those other things that really go beyond what any church should handle, unless there's somebody within the congregation that's very specific. So the reason we do pastoral care ministry is because there's people who have needs, and we want them to come to the church. But what we want to help them do is to recognize that just because that's a need and they come to the church, it doesn't mean that the church meets those needs. And then once we've assessed triage, then what we're going to do is we're going to help them get planted in the right space. So it may be that they are ready to be in a small group and they haven't been in one, or maybe they were in one and need to get back in one, or maybe they need someone to sit down with them for a couple sessions. But just know this, we're not a counseling center. We don't do long-term counseling sessions. 2 or 3 at the most is probably what you're going to need to do. And then later on, you're going to help connect them and just help them follow up as far as being committed to the local church and doing what they've been told to do in their clinical setting, whatever that case may be. And I would advise you to also not only look to the resources outside your church, but I would invite you to look at the resources in your church. You may have some really, really good members that have skill levels in counseling, psychology, psychiatry, addiction, all those types of deals. And just know this, don't ever feel the pressure to be responsible for what people do. At the end of the day, people have to take responsibility for their own actions. We are there to be like the 4 friends that helped the lame guy get to Jesus. He needed somebody to do some digging and some carrying that he could not do on his own, but he had to walk that out. And so that's the intro to pastoral care, why we do it here at Church of the Highlands.